What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster-in-chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with the first full episode of Wilds of Eldraine spoiler talk. Oh, it feels so good to be here, finally. The long wait is almost over. Feels like one of the longest gaps I've ever had to sit through for some sweet, fresh new cards. And I'm sure you've all already seen this. If you haven't, go and do so. It is, of course, the debut video that they always do for each new set. They always go live both on Twitch and on the official Magic the Gathering YouTube channel. And, they break the, they used to do them a little bit more, let's say, I don't know, they had actual people in it, but those ended up feeling really cringy. So the last few sets they've been doing these just, narrated, more short, to the point videos, and I honestly prefer it. Yeah, like I said, a lot less cringy, just more information packed into a shorter video. And essentially what they do is they'll show off a bunch of cards whilst at the same time sort of talking about the storyline, and at the same time they'll tell you all about the new mechanics in the set. So some of these cards we've already seen during the various panels at the various cons, but a lot of them we have not, and I'm not going to read them over here. I'm going to jump into Mythic Spoiler to have a look at that. But I thought it would just be nice to quickly touch upon some of the key points. We already knew about the adventure mechanic, but then the other mechanic is new, or there's a few actually, and then kind of compare what we learned during this video with the Marrow's teaser post that we broke down a little while ago, and see if there's anything new that we can... okay, so here we go. Whether some of my guesses were correct. So, first of all, there's this rolls. And I think this is the new token that they were talking about, because it's a token enchantment. Again, we'll jump into Marrow's teaser and compare it. But essentially, from the way I understand it, there'll be certain... cards that say let's see if they... Well, once we go into the actual spoilers, we'll understand a bit more about how this works in detail. But yeah, the new token that they were talking about in Marrow's teaser, I believe, are these roll auras. Token enchantment, which is pretty cool. I'm very, very hyped about this one. It's going to add a very meaningful new dimension to the strategy and the game, and I for one, I'm really looking forward to tinkering with these. By the way, early access is coming soon, so stay tuned for that as well. Going to be trying my best to whip up some early brews as soon as we've seen the whole set, so that I can be ready for early access. But yeah, that was the first new mechanic that they showcased. These aura rolls, and I'll get a little bit more in depth with that as we break down today's spoilers. But then, going on, there was another new mechanic called Bargain. So, seems to be pretty simple, this one, which I like. Nothing crazy. Essentially, if you pay the bargain cost, which is you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. And, okay, so let us just note that we just saw these enchantment tokens in the rolls, so that's going to often be, especially for the draft, the limited format, that's going to be mostly what you're going to be sacrificing. But of course, this is Eldraine, so we're also going to have food, and tokens can be anything. I've already started to go down the rabbit hole, like even just a creature token you could sacrifice to the bargain, a blood token, a treasure token, any kind of token. Then there's also artifact or enchantment. Doesn't necessarily have to be a token, so the possibilities start to get pretty endless, and the bonus, or the benefits from paying this bargain cost are often very, very high. Again, I'm not going to read through individual cards here on the YouTubes. I just wanted to skip through this. You've either probably already watched it yourself, or you can you should. So and then the people at Wizards will do a better job of explaining it than me. But of course, there we go. I mentioned it earlier. We've got Adventure as the returning mechanic. The cool new thing is that some of them are multicolored, which I thought was pretty cool. We already saw that in the Somnophage, during the Barcelona panel. Now we get to see more of them where, it's a blue card, but then the adventure is red, so giving the card a total, is it feeling. Here we go with the Decadent Dragon. Oh my god, probably one of the better cards. Okay, thank goodness it doesn't have haste, but it's another, 4/4 flying trampler that makes a treasure when it attacks. This is going to be busted. Busted card alert. But I'm gonna go over all of this in over on mythicspoiler.com. But just to point out the fact that yes, some of these adventures are 2 colors, and I quite like that. Then we've got Sagas coming back. And I like how I think I nailed this one in terms of the Marrow's teaser. I had a feeling it would be like the Sagas would be like little tiny fairy tales. In the case of this one, it's the 3 blind mice. So yeah, just really cool. Really cool. And they touch upon some commander stuff, which honestly I could not care less about. And then they go into various art styles, and then also that if there's another one of these things where there's an extra bonus sheet where they reprint certain stuff, and you'll be getting one of these in each booster pack. I wish they wouldn't do that in Arena, but I guess whatever. It just makes it a little bit tougher for people to build up their collection if they're specifically trying to focus on Standard. Because you're also going to be getting all of these weird reprints, which will only be legal in Explorer and whatnot. But still, I guess, whatever. Nice, and really cool artwork. And I guess for the people who play paper, some of these reprints may have been things that people have been looking for a long time, and now there's going to be new, cool artworks for them. So yeah, mostly the whole of the last little bit here was going into details about the various types of frames and artworks that you can get these cards in. And then early access streamer event, August 31st. Cannot wait. It's really not too far away. And then all the other dates that you might need to know. But essentially for us over here on the arenas, August 31st, early access. Come tune in on the Discord community and stay tuned for early access content on the YouTube channel. And then Arena release September 5th. Woo! So that's it as far as this little bit of the spoiler talk. I just wanted to go over a few details. Next up, we're going to jump straight into Mythic Spoiler, which is my resource of choice. I just like the way they lay it out. It's nice and clear. There's not too much advertising. And it is important to note that we did have some leaks, and I've done my best to avoid them. I've hardly see these ones. I'm not going to go over the leak stuff. I'm just going to stick to the actual proper cards from from official spoilers, and then we'll see the rest of the stuff that was leaked will end up getting spoiled properly over the next coming days. So I'm sure you've all already gone and seen it, but I just don't even want to acknowledge it. As we all know, that's a big no-no in the community. So let's take it from the top. I'm going to go top down. I have hardly read any of these. First thing that immediately jumps to mind is, of course, this is like a fairy tale realm. And every fairy tale, every story has a central character. So there's going to be a lot of legendaries. Fortunately, I don't know, just feels like more and more of this, pandering to the commander people so that you can get a new, let's play Rowan as my commander and whatever. But whatevs, I'm always going to try and, I'm never going to get into commander. It's just not my thing. I cannot imagine ever playing at a table where there's more than one opponent. I never got it. It just drives me insane. Just enough to face one opponent down and beat him. Imagine all the table politics that goes on when you're playing against 6 different people at the table, and how freaking long the games go on for. Just my idea of a nightmare. So when there's all these super focus on commander stuff, even though You know, if you speak to the Commander community, they'll tell you that it's what's holding up the entire game, and if it wasn't for Commander, Magic wouldn't exist, and all this crap. I'm like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Standard is the way. And I'm really hoping that, you know, going forward, Wizards continues to support the format, because it, I think, is really the most important one to onboard new players and whatnot. So, anyway, I'm done rambling. Let's look at some cards. Rowan, Scion of War. It's a Rakdos 3-mana 4/2 with Menace. You can tap it, and then it says spells that you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Ooh, interesting. Interesting, very interesting. There's not right now too many spells that that have X, you know, that have lots of colorless in the casting cost, like big ass spells. But this is any spells, okay? So it's not necessarily instant sorceries. Okay, so okay. In that case, you know, I take my words back. There's some big expensive things in most colors that have lots of colorless, be a creature, enchantment, or an artifact. But as far as, like, you know, big old spell that usually cost like 11, and you want to like reduce that by a lot, essentially kind of cheating it out, there's not much of that right now. Like, you know, a big red fireball type effect, that would need that type of cost reduction, especially considering you need to, you know, find a way to build the deck so that you can, you're paying life, and then you tap Rowan, and then depending on how much of that life you lost, then the thing gets reduced. It's quite a lot of hoops to jump through. I don't see it. I don't see it yet. There may be something that, but, you know, like I said, I have hardly looked at these, so let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. And as we go through the spoilers today, we'll, you know, and the rest of spoiler season, there'll be something that sticks out. But for now, this isn't looking very spectacular, honestly. Just Menace, 4/2, dies to pretty much everything. Does nothing when it enters the battlefield. Very convoluted thing to do the thing. Just doesn't really seem like that's worthy of the mythic, you know, badge here. But, you know, Rowan and Will, they used to share a spark, and now they're desparked. So they're no longer planeswalkers. They're, of course, legendary creatures, and they got a card each. And I like how, you know, they're flavor-wise, it's on point, but if anything. So then we're on to the brother, Will, the Scion of Peace. Again, 3 mana. This time it's a 2/4. Flip over the stats. This time it's got Vigilance. And it's a, you know, it's another one of this. It's the same thing, but this time spells that are white and or blue. Same exact text box, just different color things that get done. I think these cards are absolute trash. We'll try them, of course. I'll try everything. I always do, but I just don't see it. Like, even for Commander, like, why would you want to play this as your Commander? They just seem like total trash to me. So let me know if I'm wrong. Hit me up in the comments. Next up, we got the Goose Mother, the Bird Hydra, a Simic card with X. This I like. I really hope Simic is vaguely doable this, you know, this format. Poor Simic. Hasn't been like any Simic deck worth talking about on, you know, the top tier for a long time. So fingers crossed. But I like the art a lot. This was one of the ones that we saw the artwork for in the Barcelona panel. So X and a Simic, green and a blue, for a legendary creature Bird Hydra. It's got flying. It's a 2/2. And then when it enters the battlefield, it enters with X plus one counters on it. Then when it enters the battlefield, create half. Wow, that's cool. Okay. Wow, that's a lot of like stuff to happen. So ETBs with X number of counters on it. When it enters the battlefield, create X food tokens rounded up. And whenever the Goose Mother attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, draw a card. Wowza. Wowza. That is really nice. I like that. I like that a lot. You probably don't play it out on 2 unless you've got nothing better going on. You just jam this in your ramp deck, and then you just drop it and make this massive flyer. That also makes a bunch of food, and then you can either use that food to gain some life against aggro, or you can use that food to draw cards against control. I really like that. I think this is a great card. Thumbs up, stamp of approval from the BrewLab. Cannot wait to jam it. And again, love the artwork. Next up, we got Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge. So they mentioned it in the Barcelona thing. They've reiterated it in the debut video yesterday. For those of you who do not know, each of the draft archetypes, you know, the various color combinations, follow a specific one of these fairy tales. In the case of Golgari, it's the Hansel and Gretel story where, you know, the two kids wander off the path into the forest, and then they end up at this wicked witch's house who has a house made out of gingerbread and candies and things. And so you can see that with the you know, the magic twist to it, as they've been saying. So all of the candy comes alive and it's monsters, and she's the like the scourge of the candy monsters. I love this artwork. The colors are really popping. So anyway, let's see what Greta can do. It's a 3/3 legendary human warrior. Human. When she enters the battlefield, create a food token. Okay, I can see that that's going to be happening a lot. And then you can pay 1 green, sack of food, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. You can put it on her. I like that. I like that a lot, because it's you know, there'll be other things that make food. So you can go like turn 1, make a thing that, you know, play a thing that makes a food. Turn 2, make some more food, and then play Greta, and then, you know, you start making Greta bigger, or you're using her to make other things bigger. I like that a lot. Activate you know, the sorcery. They probably had to staple that on to make it not completely busted, because that is a pretty nice effect. And then the alternative is, you know, as it's a dual colored card, you can also pay 1 and a black, sack a food, draw a card, and you lose 1 life. Not as good as the Goose Mother, but honestly not a terrible card. I quite like that design. I don't know where it's going to fit, but I, for one, am excited to jam some Greta Sweet Tooth in my Golgari deck very, very soon. Woohoo! Next up, we've got Ruby, the Daring Tracker. Of course, this is based on the Little Red Riding Hood. Golgari is going to, I beg your pardon, Gruul is the Little Red Riding Hood. Fairy Tale. She's a 1/2 with haste. Nice. Human Scout. More humans. Whenever she attacks, while you control a creature with power 4 or greater, she gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Tap, add, oof. Oh, that's a nice little uncommon. So these are the signpost uncommons for the various archetypes. I like this one a lot. You know, in your little Gruul deck, get a little hasty thing so you can tap it straight away to add more mana. And do something else with it. Honestly, I think that's a fantastic little card. Very nice. And then there'll be already, I can think of a few things that can, you know, make this happen while you control a creature with power 4 greater. There was that gingerbread guy from way back in the Comic-Con, here we go. Tough Cookie, for example. Even though this is probably going to go in the Golgari one. However, you can pay 3 and target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. There we go. And there's a 4/4 that you can control, which will buff your little Red Riding Hood. Can't believe we're saying these things. But yeah, cool card. I like it. Thumbs up. Next up, we got Ash, the Party Crasher. So this is going to be the Boros signpost uncommon. It's got haste as well. Nice. And here we see another little, you know, I don't know if this is, I know it's not a mechanic because it wasn't mentioned in the debut video. So some sort of like little, what was the other set that had this? Wasn't it the Dungeons and Dragons set? Where, you know, there were these little key, what do they call it? You know, anyway, it's like an ability or it's a piece of special text that goes like just with Ash here. I don't think you'll find Celebration on any of the other cards, but it is a specific thing of, you know, that of this card. I hope that makes sense. I I didn't do a very good job of explaining that. But anyway, whenever he attacks, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on Ash. Whenever he attacks, if 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, you put a counter on him. I guess it's gonna be those tokens, those roll enchantment aura token things. But it could just be, you know, equipment. It could be any kind of other token. It's still a permanent. It doesn't count your you know, the first. It would be nice if, like, you know, you play a land, there's one permanent, and then you just play one more, and then when it attacks, you get a +1/+1 counter. You're gonna have to like work a little bit harder than that, but still not impossible to do. A nice little 2-drop. I wonder, like, I'm honestly really hoping that Boros aggro is a thing again. There's some stuff in the leaks that I saw that makes me think that maybe Boros is back on the menu, and I, for one, cannot wait, because I'm sick of just playing mono-red aggro and mono-white aggro, and I've always loved mixing the two together, but for the moment it hasn't been amazing. So like a nice Boros aggro deck would be really up my alley, and I hope there is a viable one in the coming format. Next up, we got Shirei of the Numbing Depths. 4 mana. Azorius. 2/3. When she enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. Okay, so we saw this in Marrow's teaser. There's like this blue-white archetype where, you know, good things happen if the opponent's stuff's getting tapped, and there's going to be ways to do it, and then when you do it, you get more value. Here's another card. It's going to be one of the draft archetypes. It's obviously the Snow White, you know, Sleeping Beauty, you know, story, because it's, you know, when you're tapping these things down, they're off to bed. And then in this case, you know, the stun counters are back, which is cool. I've seen a few already cards that have that, so that means that they don't untap until the next, you know, then you remove a stun counter at each untap step, and then eventually, once there's no more stun counters, they can actually untap. So whenever you tap one or more untapped creatures your opponent controls, draw a card. Nice. Nice. I don't know how good that really is, but I like that it's a thing. Like a control type deck that can also play a few creatures, and instead of needing sweepers and wraths all the time, maybe we can just be like, you know, tapping things down using stun counters instead, and create a more kind of tempo style of blue-white, which I prefer to just straight up blue-white control. For example, the current deck that's kind of trying to do something like that is the blue-white Illuminator Virtuoso deck, which is definitely a tempo deck. So something like that, that type of play style, but with stun counters and things, could be really cool. I hope that it's a thing. Next up, we got Twisted Fealty. Yeah, another of these effects at 3 mana. We've got, like, I mean, there's one in every single set, and it's because of the draft. You know, you need them for draft, I guess. It's just like a thing that they always reprint, and it's always slightly different. You know, if it's the Crimson Vow, then you'll get a blood token, and if it's you know, every set has one of these, and then it does something slightly differently, but it's always the key points are always 3 mana, red card, gain control, untap, gains haste until end of turn. But then in this case, create a Wicked Roll token attached to up to 1 target creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. So there's going to be like different rolls. In the case of Wicked, I guess it's going to be +1/+1. And then whenever this aura is put into graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. So that's quite nice. Like, if you have a way to then also sack the thing, you not only steal the opponent's biggest creature, attack him with it. It's going to be bigger than it was when you stole it, and then you sack the thing, and then that means the aura also ends up in the graveyard, and so then you also give the opponent an extra little ping of damage. So it's a total of 2 extra damage compared to the base stats of the creature, if you can, you know, do the steal and sack thing. So quite a nice one, actually. I'm quite happy that lately, like, you know, there's Furnace Rains, that makes a treasure token when you connect for damage. A few other weird ones. Like this one I like. I like that a lot. And the cool thing is, you don't have to put this roll on the creature that you stole. If you don't have a sack outlet, then maybe just put it on your own thing. And then it just gets +1/+1, which is pretty cool. So I like this one. Lately, of the various effects like this we've received, Twisted Fealty, thumbs up. Next up, we got Embereth Veteran. Ooh, a 1-drop for red. Is there anything that's going to be able to beat freaking Kumano faces Kakazan and Swifty Boy? I don't think so, but 2/1 is good, you know? It just doesn't have haste. So it's a 1-mana 2/1. That's always good. That's always good stats for an aggro deck, right? Like, look at what Mono White has right now. The little soldier guy that can draw you cards for 4 mana, whose name is now slipping my mind. But anyway, you can pay 1, sack it, create a young hero role. So you can see there's got a few of these different role tokens. In the case of the young hero, what happens is whenever this creature attacks, if its toughness is 3 or less, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Ooh, so I guess you do the block and sack thing. You know, play this on 1, then you play something else on turn 2 that has, you know, toughness 3 or less. Then when the opponent attacks with their creatures, you block with Embereth Veteran, sack it. Can you do this at yeah, this is instant speed. You don't need, it doesn't say sorcery speed, and there's no tap. So you can block, sack it, put the young hero roll onto the guy you didn't block with. Now next turn you untap, you can swing in and start putting +1/+1 counters on your 2-drop, or on your, probably on your 3-drop, because you need a mana to do this. So it's not going to happen on the opponent's second turn, because you won't have the 1 to pay. So probably this will happen on 3, so then you'll probably put that on your 3-drop and not on your 2-drop. But still nice. Nice little card, actually. I hope that red gets, like, it changes shape a bit. There are 2 red decks vying for the top tier. The more burny one with Mechanized Warfare, and then the more just aggro-y one with Thundering Raiju. I hope something different comes along for red that just makes the play patterns new, because I'm bored of playing it and against it. So this might be a piece of that puzzle. But I also quite like this in Gruul modified, you know, because of the +1/+1 and the fact that the aura itself is going to count as a modification. So I like how they, you know, typical Wizards, like, it's one of the things I love the most. The people that work in there really, like, when you don't look at all the corporate nonsense and the money grabbing and all the other stuff, but you just focus on, like, the game. They do such an amazing job of, like, knitting together mechanics and card types and things across sets. You know, these role tokens, like how that suddenly now synergizes with modified from way back then, is just, I think that's amazing. Here we go with another 2-mana dork. We needed a 1-mana dork. We've got too many of these. Sorry. And it's just not better than the existing ones, okay? It just isn't. Tap, add 1 black, 1 green, or pay 1, tap, add a mana of any color. Like, we've got Lano Warloam Speaker. We've got the one that cares about oil counters. Name's now escaping me as well. That when you get to 3 oil counters, then it becomes a 3/3. You know, there's just better options in the 2-drop slot. So this is definitely draft chaff. Next up, we've got Return from the Wilds. Isn't this a reprint? 3 mana, sorcery speed, choose 2. Search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Create a 1/1 white. Wow, that's a nice little card, actually. Or create a food token. That's a nice little card. In your ramp deck, when you're trying to, like, stall the opponent's aggression, make a little 1/1 to block with and find your next land, or, you know, depending on what you'd rather have, maybe make a food token so you can gain some life and find the next land, and it's to the battlefield. Yes, tapped. And it's also a shuffle effect. Like, oh, this is a nice little card, I think. This is a really nice little card, mate. I like it. I like it a lot. I bet you this is going to see some play. This is going to be one of those like nice little like oil cards, little cogs in the deck that make things hum along. Just a lot of versatility. Reminding me a bit of something like oh my goodness, why can I never remember the name of cards lately? The 2-mana festivities something. It's not End of Festivities. You make 2/1/1s, draw a card or gain 4 life depending on certain things. That one's better, yes, the white one, the 2-mana one, but it's reminding me of that, with like just you get to do things. I like it. I like this one. Anyway, it's enough rambling about Return from the Wilds. Let's go on to Beanstalk Worm, our first adventure card of the night. Beanstalk Worm looks like some draft chaff to me, just straight away from the fact that it's common. It costs a bunch of mana, but who knows? You never know with these things. So it's a 5-mana, 5/4 with reach. Amazing artwork. It's a plant worm. And then the adventure side is a sorcery speed spell at 2 mana, which says you may play an additional land this turn. Hey, that's not terrible. Because then, you know, then it goes into your adventure zone, or it's exiled, you know. You may cast the creature from exile later, as they like to remind us over here. So then, you know, helping you get to this 5 mana a lot quicker. Another ramp piece, but I don't know if it's going to be better than, you know, a Topiary Stomper or something like that. Or right now we've got the Saga that also gains you 3 life, and then you get a Yara, or no, what's it? Azusa. Azusa's Many Paths or something like that. The Azusa Saga that comes back as a creature, gains you life, allows you to play an extra land. I think that's just better. Even though at the end here you're going to get a 5/4 with reach. That's not terrible. Probably going to be quite good and limited, actually. Okay, now we got some stuff in the Germans. So I need to switch to the tab. Edgewall Inn. Gasthaus in Wallstadt. Sorry, German subscribers, if I butchered your language. Gasthaus in Wallstadt. Is that good? Oh goodness, what have I done? The Edgewall Inn enters the battlefield tapped. Wait, where's my face in this? I want to... Okay, yeah, I'll leave myself up here in the corner. Enters the battlefield tapped. No matter what. When it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Tap it to add a mana of the chosen color. And you can pay 3, sack it, return a card with an adventure from your graveyard to your hand. That's maybe a one-off. Let's see if there's like a really, really strong adventures deck like we had in previous, you know, the last time we were on Eldraine. There was like Teamer Adventures. There was an adventure. Every color combination had like an adventures deck, and then this is a land that kind of like supports that. So let's see if it ends up being super duper strong. And if so, then probably you'll end up running like maybe 2 or 3 of these in that deck. So not terrible, actually. I quite like the art as well. Very nice. Very nice, actually. Guest house in Wallstadt. Next up, we've got the Farsight Ritual. Ooh. 4-mana instant speed blue thing with bargain. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. If the spell was bargain, look at the top 8 cards of your library instead. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest of them. So, cool. Like, trying to upgrade Memory Deluge. My favorite right now is still Scrutiny. Silver Scrutiny, I still think is my favorite, like, blue card draw spell, because you can just, like, draw 5, 6, whatever, late game. This doesn't have flashback, but it does have bargain. So, like, maybe in the early game, you haven't found a little thing to sacrifice to it yet. Also, because blue... I mean, yes, already my mind goes to... Because I've been playing a lot of Control lately on the Mythic Ladder, my mind goes straight to Might tokens from Mirex. You know, early game, you don't have a Might token yet. You just pay the 4, and you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 2 into your hand. So it's essentially a 4-mana draw 2 and scry 4. But then later in the game, when you have those little might tokens lying about, then you can bargain and you look at the top 8. So actually, probably freaking better than Memory Deluge, which is so cool because I'm kind of sick of playing against that card. Because Memory Deluge, you have to pay 7 mana to do the 7 mana. Sorry, to look at the top 7 cards of your library. This will always just cost you 4. And then the only extra little cost is, maybe sack a might token. And now we're looking at the top 8 instead of the top 7. And you're still anyway just putting 2 into your hand, the rest into your library, bottom of your library in random order. Double thumbs up. This is going to see a buttload of play. Control mages, rejoice. Especially considering that we have Mirex in the format. Like, this is going to see a lot of play. I can guarantee it. Really, really, really nice card. And you can tell straight away, like, it's rare. And that's when I see these type of, blue draw spells at rare, it means it's going to be a staple, like almost always. Case in point, Memory Deluge, Silver Scrutiny, they're very played, and this one's going to also be played. Okay, this one I can translate, even though I'm not Spanish. It's so close to Italian that I can figure it out without needing to go into a separate tab. So Furia Monstruosa, Monstrous Fury, 1 mana instant, uncommon. Ooh, a little cantrippy. Target creature gains +2/+0 until end of turn. Make a... Oh, okay, and then you create one of those roll tokens. It's going to be like a monster roll. And it will give it +1/+1 and trample. La criatura encantada obtiene +1/+1 y tiene la habilidad de arrollar. Let me see if I guessed right with the arrollar being trample. Okay, we don't know what the monster roll. So a permanent +1/+1 trample for all my guys in a feather deck seems legit, yeah. So it's trample. Arrollar is trample. I mean, just from the art, you could guess quite easily. Next up, we got Blossoming Tortoise over here. Ooh. 4 mana, 3/3 at rare. Like the 4-drop slot in green has just been wonky, like lately, or it's just weird, like, I don't know, just weird cards that for whatever reason just don't quite help to make green playable. I really think what we need is to print a 1 mana, like, mana dork instead of these 2 mana things. But anyway, Moonwatch, I know if you're watching this, you have similar thoughts on the matter. But a 4 mana 3/3. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you mill 3 cards. Then return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. Okay. Again, like, I've been trying so much to play like Tatiova, and those of you who went and watched my Kumite with Ace MTG a few days back, I was really desperate to get this like Simic Lands Matters deck, and there's a 4 mana. Why can I not remember the name of cards these days? I guess because it doesn't see that much play, but there's this 4 mana Jolryle. I believe it's Jolryle. Simic card that also makes every beginning of combat, one of your lands becomes a creature, and then it gains flying, and it doesn't gain flying, but if you have Tatiova and Jolryle in play, and Blossoming Tortoise, it just starts to get to this point where it's like there's too many things that need to stay on the board in a format where there's Sunfall and Farewell and so straight away you go, okay, the only way that I can deal with that is by being Simic, so therefore having plenty of counter spells alongside these things, as well as things that phase out, because or indestructible, like Tamio's Safekeeping, Tyvar's Stand, that sort of thing. But yeah, with Sunfall in the format, it has to be like Slip Out the Back or March of Swirling Mist. I think hopefully it'll be a playable like archetype. Simic lands matter. We know we're getting a creature land in all of the, or man's land as they're called, in all of the enemy color combinations. So not Simic, but let's see. I for one can't wait to try and jam this, and I like that it's not legendary finally, so we can have, you know, more than one or two in the deck. So, sweet little art. Not sure if it'll see too much play though, until we see more support for blue and green. Rat out. 1 mana instant, up to one target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. You create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. So there's a whole like 3 blind mice, the Pied Piper rats thing that we've seen already. A few rats in the leaks, which I won't go over. But I also saw there was. Okay, these are already unofficial, so I'm gonna just stop at the Realm Scorcher Hellkite, and then here we go. The Swarm Piper. There's gonna be some rats going on, and I'm all for it. I like me some rats, little ratties. So let's see. Here we go. Here's another card for that archetype. I hope there's a cool rat deck, and like there has been some stuff peppered here and there through sets, going back as far as Kamigawa with there's that saga that you make a little rat, but you give it to the opponent. Give it to the opponent, and then it transforms, and then you gain control of all rats. And then you can attack with it, sack a rat, draw a card. I can't remember the name of the card right now, but there's been some ratty stuff. And also in March of the Machine and Phyrexia All-Be-One, we got some rat creature types. So let's see. Rat Tribal. It's looking like it's going to have to be Rakdos, which means then with some sacrifice stuff going on, I'm all down for that. Here we go, even in the rat catcher trainee. But anyway, maybe it'll just end up being a draft archetype and not an actual playable, like, constructed deck, but I can't wait to test it out. I cannot wait for these cards to hit the client. Rat catcher trainee is a 2-mana 2/1 with an adventure that costs 3 called Pest Problem. At instant speed, you can create 2/1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature cannot block. So that's going to be a thing. Like, all of the rat tokens from this set won't be able to block. So it's going to have to be pretty aggressive. But yeah, nice. I've noticed this, like, where the adventure costs more than the creature. So you can't, you know, you have to first adventure on 3 and then play the creature out later. And there's going to be these decision points where you're like, maybe I don't do the adventure and I just play the creature on 2, and then maybe you have another one in your hand, and yeah. But I like that. It's not. That's a good design idea, to put players into that position of having to decide whether it's more important to hold the thing back in hand to first cast the adventure side and then play the creature later, or vice versa. You know, so. Nice design. I don't know if this card itself will see too much play. It's not amazing outside of draft, but cool. Next up, we got the Warehouse Tabby. For every rat she kills, 10 more take its place. I love the art on this one. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a... Okay, so this is going to be those rolls. So from what I heard in the debut video, each one of your creatures can't have more than one of those rolls. So whenever you put a new roll on it, of course, the other one is going to go into the graveyard. So whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard, even though it's a token, it still goes into the graveyard. You won't have the physical card there that you can interact with it or whatever, but it's like the same as, you know, the... I've mentioned this most recently with the Urabrask's Forge from Phyrexia All-Be-One, where it says, at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice the token that you created, the creature token. And even though it's not physically going into the graveyard, mechanically, in terms of things that's in it, if it dies, or if it's put into a graveyard, it'll count, like in the case of this. So I believe where they're going with this is going to be the little roll tokens going into the graveyard. But of course, then you know, they can synergize with previous sets and whatnot, where it doesn't have to be that. It can be any enchantment you control going into a graveyard from the battlefield, and then you'll be getting the little 1/1 black rat creature token out of it, and then you can pay 1 and a black and give it Death Touch until the end of turn. So, cool little common. Definitely going to see some play, I think, in draft. I don't know, but we'll have to see how this rat deck shapes up. But I like it. I like it. A little 1-drop. Next up, we got Skybeast Tracker. Wonder why the 1/1 here is in red, but it's got reach. So it's 4 mana 1/1. What? Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, create a food token. Okay. Trash. I don't know why this is red. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. But so far, that looks like an absolute piece of trash. Like, why would you... Why? Next up, Frolicking Familiar. A little otter wizard. I like it. And again, with this thing, you know, where you're going to be forced to make this decision. Here it's, you know, much easier to make. Because you can fire off the instant speed early. But... oh man, they're so good at this, right? So, blow off steam, 1 mana instant, deals 1 damage to any target. Nice. Just have a creature that's also a play with fire. Sorry, no, play with fire is 2 damage. But still, any target, I like that. I like that a lot. Especially with, you know, Talia in the format. And then... the creature side says that whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you put a +1/+1 counter until the end of turn. Sorry, I only I thought it was a counter. That sucks. It's just until the end of turn. Still not bad. Still not terrible. You can chain a bunch of spells, and you know, within the same card, they sort of both, because you're gonna want to have like a lot of cheap instant speed cantrip type things. So, you know, if you have other copies of Frolicking Familiar in your hand, you can, you know, there we go. Oh, adventures are back. Adventures are back. Busted stuff coming. The every set reprint of Evolving Wilds. We already saw this in the panel at Barcelona. The artwork, at least, it's been part of their... yeah, this is good. This is really nice. I like it. But yeah, there's always an Evolving Wild, so there's nothing more to say about it other than, you know, commenting on the artwork. This one is a particularly nice one. It appeals to me. Next up, we got the Sweet Tooth Witch. A 3 mana, 3/2 human warlock. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a food token. And then you can pay 2, sacrifice a food, target player loses 2 life. I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. I like these type of things. I hope that it's not just this card that does that. Like, I hope that black gets a thing where, like, ooh, we're going to be making food and then sacking our food and ping, 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 ping. I like that. I like that a lot. Very nice. Next up, we got the Cursed Courtier. 3 mana, 3/3 with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, create a roll token. In this case, it's a cursed roll, so he's going to be the Cursed Courtier. I guess there's just going to be loads of different types of these rolls. There's not like just a defined small number of them, but it's like whatever it needs to be. You know, so far we've seen so many different ones. Young hero roll and blah blah. So cool, like cursed roll in this case. I guess, okay. Yeah. I get it. I can see the thing. So, enchanted creature is a 1/1. So, when it enters the battlefield, it's just a 1/1. That's why he's cursed. But then, you can change these rolls. There's ways to do it. There's also things that allow you to sacrifice the you know, the bargain mechanic, for example. Then you get rid of that roll from the courtier. Now he's a 3/3 lifelink instead of 1/1. And you get value from sacrificing the roll token, and you're left with a better creature. I like that. I like that. That's definitely more playable than the Sweet Tooth Witch. Nice little card. Human Noble. That doesn't look like a human to me, dude. I thought there was gonna be like a frog or something. Or a lizard. But okay. I guess that's the curse, right? He's cursed to look like a weird frog Michael Jackson looking guy. Next up, ooh, our first rare saga. The Huntsman's Redemption. I hope this is good. I hope this is good. 3 mana, Enchantment Saga. Create a 3/3 beast creature token. Nice. So, you know, kind of on point in terms of, you know, value. You're paying 3 and you get a 3/3 beast. Nice. But then, next turn, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, search your library for a creature card or basic land. Put it into your hand, then shuffle. Less nice. Because you're probably going to want to keep that 3/3 around to block stuff and whatnot. But maybe your 2-drop or your 1-drop is, you know, not as good, and you don't mind to sack it if it's going to help you find your next land or your next bigger creature. And then up to 2 creatures, each get +2/+2 and gain trample until end of turn. That's very aggressive. I like that. So this will be potentially happening on, so have 3, 4 on 5. So the thing you sack your 1-drop, potentially get value out of that. Other than, you know, just the fact that you can go look for a creature or a basic land. But maybe also because of the, you know, or when this creature dies, yada yada happens. So, you know, sack your 1-drop or your 2-drop to go and find your 4-drop, which you'll play on 5, and then you can give your 2-drop and your beast token +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. So this will, at the very minimum, you'll, I don't know. I mean, it's going to take some building around, but that's actually really nice. I think that's really nice. This, like, you know, aggression. I would like mono green to be an aggro deck more than a ramp deck. So I hope that this is a piece of that puzzle, because trample and +2/+2 is no jokes. Imagine giving +2/+2 to your bloated contaminator or whatever. It's not terrible. Suddenly it's a freaking, what's it? It's already a 4/4 trample for 3. Now it's a 6/6. Nice. I like this. I like it a lot. We'll definitely see play getting the BrewLab 2 thumbs up, stamp of approval. Next up, we got Break the Spell, a 1 mana instant, destroy target enchantment. If a permanent you controlled or a token was destroyed this way, draw a card. So this is going to be, you know, there we go, a way to get rid of this cursed roll from your cursed courtier, and draw a card out of it. But also just really nice, because the enchantments is a pain in my butt to have a 1 mana instant speed destroy target enchantment. If a permanent you controlled or a token was destroyed this way, draw a card. So maybe okay, that's cool. It's kind of versatile enough to maybe see some play. Because either you're destroying one of your permanents to get rid of a roll token that you don't like on one of your creatures, and then you also get to draw a card. Or if it's any token, maybe you want to get rid of a roll token that is beneficial to the opponent on one of his creatures, and that's still a token, even though you don't control it. It says, if a permanent you controlled or a token, any token, was destroyed this way, draw a card. I think, yeah, that's plenty versatility. Many use cases will see play, depending on how, definitely in draft, for sure, because these roll tokens are going to be everywhere. But in perhaps even in constructed standard. Troublemaker, oof. A 2 mana 2/2 with bargain. When it enters the battlefield, if it was bargain, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. That's nice. You know, there's going to be so many things that we can sack to this bargain stuff. Treasures, food, roll tokens, yada yada yada. Misa likey. And it's just another one of these 2 mana creatures that also kills artifacts or enchantments and opponents controls, but in this case it's exile. The most recent thing we had was what's the name of the card? cannot remember the name of cards today, but it's 2 mana, pay 1, sack it, and then you can the most recent one was like proliferate, destroy the enchantment or artifact, and it was like a 3/2. Then it goes as far back in standard as the 2 mana werewolf that you can pay 1, sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Or when it was nighttime, you could attack and just destroy artifact or enchantment. There's a long line of these green 2 mana creatures that also can destroy enchantments and artifacts in some way. I like that this one's exile. So cool. Nice little creature. Next up, Restless Cottage. This is a reprint, no? Enters the battlefield tapped. Add a black or a green. So this is our second one we're seeing of the cycle. We've seen the Orzhov one at the Barcelona con. Here's the Golgari one. Nice art. I believe this is a reprint. I'm going to have to go and check it out. But you can pay 4. 2 in Golgari. Becomes a 4/4 black and green horror creature token until end of turn. It is still a land. Whenever Cottage attacks, create a food token. Exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. That is a freaking amazing card. I'm sorry, guys. Yes, I'm now like 9. I remember playing with this. I can't I'm 98% sure that this is a reprint, but really good. This is a freaking good card. So far, from all of these new man's lands that I've seen, they're all amazing. Like, really nice. I like that they all have an attack trigger. All of them so far that I've seen have an attack trigger that is good, like really good. I've seen in the leaks, I believe it was the Boros one, putting +1/+1 counters on things. Then we've seen the Orzhov one doing a gain and drain little ping on the opponent. You gain, they drain. This one now with the graveyard hate, and you get a food token out of it. That is ridiculous value. For 4 mana, you get a 4/4 that when it attacks, does graveyard hate and makes you a food. What a card. And it's, it's a dual land at the base level. Like, just freaking epic. Cannot wait to play this. Next up, our first, so I nailed it. It was enchantments. There we go. This is my first time going through these guys, so I hope you're enjoying my reactions. But, part of Maro's teaser was also like a new card type that has adventures that never had adventures before. So now, bam, confirmed. It's enchantments. Sick. Sick. That is so sick. Okay, so this is a 5 mana enchantment in blue. There's not many blue enchantments that get played often, so cool. This one has an adventure called Vantress Visions. So for 2 mana instant speed, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Ooh. Yeah, okay. This answers 2 of the teasers from Maro's teaser in 1 card. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control the trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So the Panamonicon thing, we've also got Elish Norn 5 mana one that does that right now in standard. So now we've got a 3rd card that does so. This time it's in blue. My guess during Maro's teaser was it was going to be a white card, but it's a blue card and it's an enchantment, and it's an enchantment that has a freaking adventure. That is good adventure. A nice little adventure. Activated or triggered ability you control, you may choose new targets for the copy. Nice card. Cool card. I can't wait to try and break it. I don't know right now, like, I can give you silly examples. Azorius enchantments. You cast your ossification and then, it's doing triggers, goes on the stack. You copy it and put new targets for the... Is that right? Am I guessing? Is that a good example? Is that a triggered ability? No, it's not. Okay, so forget I said that. That's a bad example. That would only work with the the enchantment side of Virtue of Knowledge. I'm thinking one of a good... There's plenty. There's many good examples. I just can't think of a good one right now on when I've been put on the spot like this. But nice little card. Next up, we got Knight of Doves, a 3-mana 1/3 human knight. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Cool. So again, like we'll be bargaining in things to get rid of or change different roles on creatures that we control, and whenever that happens, we'll be making a little 1/1 bird guy with flying. That's really not terrible. I like it. Besotted Knight, here we go. Like more kind of looks like a little knight deck forming up. Ooh, love me some tribal. You all know that. It's a 4-drop, but it's got a 1-mana sorcery called Betroth the Beast. Betroth the Beast? Yeah, he's getting down on one knee to propose to the beast by the looks of it, and he's besotted. Oh, that's a very sexy little fox lady over here. And by the way, we've got a fox knight somewhere in the set. It was one of the creature type lines from the Marrow's teaser, so maybe it is a product of this union with some slightly like weird things to think about there, but okay. Create a royal roll token attached to a target creature you control. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has ward 1. Nice. 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 Very nice. I like that. I like this card. It's a you are no monster to me, my love. Sick. In every sense of the word. Alright, next up we've got the Lich Knight's Conquest. Ooh, a 5-mana black sorcery. Okay. Sacrifice any number of artifacts, enchantments, and or tokens. Return that many creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Oh! Yes. 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 That is a banger, guys. That is a banging card. Holy cannolis. Guys and girls. Brewsters of all shapes and sizes. This is a banger alert. Womp womp. Warning. Lich Knight's Conquest coming to a deck, reanimator deck near you. Just imagine, okay? On 4, during the opponent's turn 4, or, you know, you use big score. You've already been discarding stuff. You know, with other stuff that we have. The enchantment that gives haste. The something disagreement from Brothers War. Where it enters the battlefield, discard, draw 2, and then you can pay 1 to sack it and give things haste. And it's an enchantment, which is helping with all of this as well. Okay? Oof. Oh, okay. Okay. So you discard something. Then maybe you discard something else on 3. We've got other things. You're loading up your graveyard with your Atraxa, with your Atali, with your this and your that. And then on 5... you slam Lich Knight's Conquest. Now you've put an enchantment on the battlefield that, you know, the one I just talked about with the haste. And then you've put another 2 artifacts on the battlefield from the big score. So now you can sacrifice all that stuff and return 3 creatures to the battlefield on turn 5. It's not just reanimate one thing. We're reanimating potentially 3, and you can build your deck in ways, I mean, thank goodness there's no more freaking... Imagine we still had Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Because then you can also sacrifice the token little troll guy. Or was it a goblin that makes a treasure, yeah? And the treasure that it... Oh my goodness. This is a busted reanimator card. Cannot wait to play with this. Take my word for it. This is gonna be a thing. I cannot wait. Any number. Artifacts, enchantments, and or tokens. Return that many creature cards. I had to read that a 3rd time. What a card. Oh, yeah. Just up my alley. Cannot wait to try this. Yes. Just that nice little power creepy stuff that I needed. Next up, Glass Casket. This is a reprint as well, I believe. It had the picture of a little fox on the... sorry, just a quick work thing. Glass casket was had a picture of like a little fox inside of a glass casket. So this is a reprint. 99.9% sure of that. Nice. I like that it's an artifact because I want to be doing the deck again with the Teething Wormlet, with the Patchwork Automaton, and there's another card that we've seen that we're gonna get to here, the Elvish Archivist, that cares about this. So, oof. But yeah, just a way to exile a target creature an opponent controls mana value 3 or less. I wish it was like any permanent with mana value 3 or less, not just creature. But still, it's just nice, cool. Nice little reprint, and definitely going to see some play. I can't wait to jam it, and I think Sir Ginger over here is going to be part of that brew as well. I need to pick up my pace a little bit, because I need to stop recording in about half an hour. So I hope to get through... yeah, we're only going up to the Realm Scorcher here, so I think we'll do it. A little bit more rapid fire. Sir Ginger the Meal Ender. It's a 2-mana 3/1, legendary artifact creature, Food Knight, which means you can tap it to sack it, gain 3 life as usual. It has trample and hexproof and haste as long as an opponent controls a planeswalker. Nice. Whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sir Ginger and scry 1. Woo! Sack your food, gain life, make him bigger, and scry. This is a sweet card. It's a phenomenal card. Oh my god, I can't, and I love the art, the flavor, everything about it. I cannot wait to play this guy. You know, I need to start being a bit more concise, as I just mentioned, but you can see why this is amazing, right? Not only can it be sacked, like let's say also against like a turn 3 opponent plays Liliana, you play this on 3 as a way to get rid of the Liliana, because he -2'd your previous creature, and now you just, this guy has haste because the opponent controls a planeswalker. You swing in, and then you can start sacrificing your foods to make it bigger, and you get to scry when you do that. And in a pinch, it is a food itself. Sick. Just sick, god. Next up, the Gallant Pie Wielder. 3-mana, 2/3 first strike. Oh, okay, so Celebration. That's the second time we've seen that. I thought it would just be like a one-off thing. Where was it? Yeah. On Ash, the Party Crasher. So I guess it's always like food carrying dudes. The pie wielding dude. It's got Celebration as well. So it's again if two. Okay. Why did we not see this? Did I miss it in the debut? But like Celebration appears to be this thing where whenever 2 or more non-land permanents enter the battlefield under your control this turn, then something happens. In the case of Mr. Gallant Pie Wielder here, he gains double strike. Nice. Next up, we got Troyan, the Gusty Explorer, a 3-mana Simic card, a Vidalcan Scout. This was one of the ones we saw the artwork for at Barcelona Con thing panel, Majiggy. Tap, add. Ooh. Goose Mother. This is basically Jack and the Beanstalk, so we can see the little storylines interweaving. Spend this mana only to cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, or spells with X in their mana cost. Sick. Pay 1, blue, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. I think this draft format's actually going to be freaking amazing. It's going to just blow Lord of the Rings out of the water. Like, oh my goodness, this is going to be... I might even jam some draft. Next up, we got Rowan's Grim Search. 3-mana instant with Bargain. This spell was Bargain. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Then put up to 2 of them back on top of your library in any order. Sorry. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Then put up to 2 of them back on top of your library in any order. And the rest onto your graveyard. You draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. Okay, so if it wasn't bargained, you just draw 2 and lose 2 life. Which anyway is fine. But then if it was, you get to do that little filtration stuff. I like that. And then put some stuff in your graveyard, which, you know, we're probably going to want to be doing with this card. Nice. Nice little cantrippy type thing for black. I like it. Next up, we got, the Fawn's Bane Troll, another rare. In Golgari, so going to be that like Hansel and Gretel stuff. When it enters the battlefield, create a monster roll. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. Okay, so that's the same as the little red thing here. Papel de monstruo. Monster roll. +1/+1 and trample. Sacrifice an aura attached to Thornsbane Troll. Okay, so it has to be the one on it, not another one. But you can pay 1 to sack this, you know, so it loses trample. And the +1/+1. But then it fights target creature you don't control, and if that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Hey, that's cool. Little 4/4 that like has a fight spell built into it. So, you know, whilst it's when you don't need it, you can have a 5/5 for 4 mana with trample. That's freaking pretty decent, actually. Ooh. But then if you need to get rid of something that's in the way, you can also just pay 1 and have it fight. It's just that, you know, it's not going to be a 5 damage fight. It's going to be a 4 damage fight because you first have to sacrifice the aura, which will then lose the +1/+1. It'll go to a 4/4, and then you can fight something. But still, nice. Nice card. I like that. I like the design. Well done. Well done, Wizards. This set is... It's getting my my brewing juices just... I can't wait. Johann, the Apprentice Sorcerer. 4 mana. 2 and a Simic. 2 and a Izzet. You may look at the top cards of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from the top of your library. It's a 2/5. 2/5. 4. It's legendary. It's a wizard. I think that's a good card. I think that's a really good card. I don't know where I'm going to play it yet, but we've seen some wizard stuff going on here with the Frolicking Familiar. I can't wait to see how that works in a deck. Looking at, you know, being able to look at the top of your library all the time is great. And then casting stuff up the top of them is also really good in a you know, spells deck, obviously. So may actually end up seeing some play. Like I cannot wait to jam these cards, guys. I just wish I had. That just seems to be like my summary of most of these. Like, oh, okay, we'll just have to play it to find out, and then if it's any good. Like, some of them are just obviously good. Like, you know, the Lich Knight here, or Sir Ginger here. But this one, you have to wait and see what other cards you can play around it to make it good. It's not just immediately just amazing. But it's the Signpost Uncommon for this draft archetype as well. So, let's see. Next up, we got the Living Lectern. 2 mana 0/4. You can pay 1, sacrificing Living Lectern, draw a card, create a Sorcerer Roll token, attach it up to one other target creature you control. A Sorcerer Roll means that it has +1/+1, and whenever this creature attacks, scry 1. That's a nice little one. I like that. To sack it, draw a card. Already just that. Pay, you know, you get 2 mana, 0/4 to block against mono red, to block against mono white aggro, all these aggro decks, like having a 2-drop that has 4 toughness. Good. And then, not only that, you can pay 1 to draw a card and give another one of your creatures +1/+1 and the ability to scry whenever it attacks. I believe this could have deserved an uncommon. That's a really nice little common there, guys. So far, probably my favorite common. Probably. Yeah, in the top 3 commons we've looked at tonight. Living Lectern. Nice. Next up, we've got the Conceited Witch. 3 mana, 2/3 with an adventure. It's got Menace on its creature side. And then the adventure is called Price of Beauty. It's a 1 mana sorcery that creates a Wicked Roll token. Attach it to target creature you control. What does Wicked Roll do again? We did have one already. I think it was that one where, like, whenever it goes in the graveyard, the opponent ping for 1. Yeah. It's +1/+1, and when it goes into a graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. Hey, there we go. Nice. Not terrible. So, you know. Yeah, that's actually really not terrible. Nice little common again. Nice little common. Next up, Never Stalked by Nightmares. Oh, never. Just never happened. No. The person's name is Never. She's a human noble, and she's stalked by nightmares, as the art does a very good job of showing us. It's a 4 mana 2/2 menace. But okay, here we go. There's ways to make it bigger. So enters the battlefield, return target creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, put it... Okay, so again, it's going to be these rolls going, you know, whenever you change roll, the one that was on the creature prior goes into the graveyard. And then in this case, what's going to happen is you're going to put a +1/+1 counter on Neva and Scry 1. That's... okay, cool. Cool. Super cool. Another one of those where we're just going to have to wait and see what more gets printed to support it, whether it ends up being an actual playable standard deck, or if it's just going to be a really good, like, uncommon for the draft format. But I like it. I like it a lot. I like these type of things. A little bit of graveyard stuff, bring it back, +1/+1 counters, a little extra scry there on the end. Nice. Next up, we got Tottentans. Tottentans, the Swarm Piper. 3 mana, of course, legendary, another legendary. He's the Pied Piper. He's a Warlock Bard. He's a 2/3. And whenever it or another non-token creature you control dies, you make a little... that sucks, dude. You know, they do this because it ends up being too broken. Because then, you know, you're making all these rats with all the rat stuff that we've been looking at. Rat. And then whenever they die, they kind of replace themselves. No, that's too much. But whenever another non-token creature you control dies, then you get another little rat. And again, like all the rats we've seen so far in the set, these rat tokens, they can't block. So reminding us very much of might tokens from Phyrexia and Mum. Target attacking rat you control gains death touch until end of turn. That's cool though. And it's not a tap thing, so you can do it to multiple rats per attack thing. So nice. And you can attack with Tottentans itself. Ooh, some kind of like Rakdos rat aggro thing. Ooh, yeah. Please be good. Please be playable. I really hope that that's a thing. I want to play new cards and new decks so badly. Anyway, next up we got Sir Armont the Redeemer. A 5 mana signpost uncommon. That's a 4/4 that cares about enchantments. When it enters the battlefield, put a monster roll attached to it. +1/+1 and trample, that we know. And then all enchanted creatures get +1/+1. So like in the Aura deck with freaking Calyx and blah 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 blah, we've been getting some, you know, some signs of this little thing slowly but surely firming up more and more. I wonder whether it'll make the cut in that deck. It's already very full, and you know, rotation is a long ways away, so there's probably just better things, and that deck doesn't really like to go up to 5 mana. The only thing that costs 5 mana is the Disturb side of Catilda, the Aura side of Catilda, and it's just altogether better than this. But maybe you just put a 1-of in there. Who knows? It's a 4/4. You can't put the roll token onto it, so it's never going to be a 5/5 trample. You put it onto something else. But again, note that these are enchantments entering the battlefield, so we've got all that, you know, enchantment entering the battlefield stuff already going on in the Selesnya deck, and these roll tokens are enchantments entering the battlefield. So I think it's gonna maybe change the way that deck is played a little bit, and that's I'm all for that. Next up, we're getting close to the end. How am I doing for time? Woo, I got a meeting in 15 minutes. Obira, the Dreaming Duelist, a 2 mana Dimir Fairy Warrior. This is looks like from the Commander decks, but still. It kind of sucks it had to be a legendary creature, because it looks pretty decent. You know, 2 mana, 2/2, flash, flying. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 2 life. Again, like, kind of, they've been signaling this with the, oh my god, come on, Lone Fox. The guy who won Worlds, and they've made his, you know, his card is, his face is on a card, and it's a little fairy with flash. It's in standard right now. You know, and it's currently being played in some kind of Dimir flash deck alongside. I don't know where my brain is at today, guys. There's the 4 mana flash guy that's also, and then it counters or destroys. It's also in that deck. And right now there's a little bit of a re-emergence of this like weird, flashy, control-y, mid-rangey, I don't know what you want to call it, Demio deck. It's like ruling the roost in terms of play numbers, not in win rates, on best of 3 and untapped right now. It's just like this new deck. And you can also go and look at the usual place I go as all the results that Fire Shoes posts on X from the various MTG Online weekend challenger thingies. Next up, we got Kellen, the Fey-Blooded. This guy apparently is going to be like an important character going forwards. He's going to be he's part of an arc, and he's going to be around for a bit. And because of these omen paths, they can move around. He's not a planeswalker, right? But he's a human fairy, 3 mana for a 2/2 double striker, and he's got an adventure. So you can adventure on 2 and then play him on 3. Search your library for an aura or equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. Nice. So again, like crossing over like auras and equipments is a very common thing. So that you can play it, in all the formats, or even just with the sets in standard, it can either go in an aura deck or in an equipment deck. Double strike, other creatures you control get +1/+1 for each aura and or equipment attached to Kellen, the Failed Bolded. Nice. Hey, that's not terrible. So you put everything on him, and then your other stuff gets buffed. Maybe with the 4 Mirrodin, would this be better to play this than something else? Let's see. But this one I'm very excited for. The Elvish Archivist. So you play this alongside your Patchwork Automatons, your Sir Gingers, your Glass Caskets, your Teething Wormlets, and finally we're getting more crossing over of the things where often in that deck I enjoyed playing, Michiko's Reign of Truth. And then I was also playing the odd ossification for my removal pieces. And then, it sucked that I had to play ossification in my artifact synergy deck because it wouldn't trigger my artifact stuff. But it was okay to play it because it still helped with my Michiko's Reign of Truth. Now we've got the Elvish Archivist. Listen to this card, guys. This one is one that I saw already on Twitter or on X before I started recording, so I know what I'm leading. And it's one of the cards from the teaser, Marrow's teaser again. Elvish Archivist, 2 mana 1/01. Whenever one or more artifacts enters the battlefield under your control, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. This ability triggers only once each turn. Thank goodness, or it would just be broken. But that now this 0/1 stat line makes sense. It's probably gonna sit there as a 0/1 the first time it enters the battlefield if you play it on 2, because there's no way you can also follow that up with some artifacts. But if you maybe play it on 3 and you've still got 1 mana open, play something that makes a food token and that is an artifact itself, you get 2 trigger, or something that isn't an artifact that also has a role because of the second part of the card. Whenever one or more enchantments enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So there's gonna almost every turn, if you build your deck correctly, you're going to be putting 2 +1/+1 counters on Elvish Archivist and drawing a card. And it's not legendary, so you can play 4 of them in the freaking deck. I cannot wait. This is going to be sick. This is a sick-ass card. Take it from me. Also, the Simeon Unearth guy that puts +1/+1 counters and is I've been trying to make this like a Selesnya Artifacts Matters, ETB triggers, aggressively slanted deck. And there's more and more pieces that have been printed. There's the Ozolith from the last set that goes well with this. Oh my goodness. This is just another really good piece in that puzzle because of the card draw. More than anything, but also the 2 +1/+1 counters. And the fact that enchantments, these roll tokens are enchantments. And we're going to be having food that are artifacts, and we've already got so much artifacts and thingy synergies from Kamigawa, and no. This is going to, I hope, finally push that deck to the next level. Keep your eyes peeled for Elvish Archivist. I'm super stoked and hyped on this one. I'm super high on this one. Next up, we're getting close to the end. Hilda of the Icy Crown. 4 mana, 2 and an Azorius for a 3/4 legendary human warlock. Okay, here we go. Talking about this I was talking about it earlier with the, like, when you tap things down, stuff happens. Here with Charade of the Numbing Depths. This is the rare, you know, signpost. Whenever you tap an opponent, an untapped creature an opponent controls, you may pay 1. This seems a little ridiculous. Pay 1. You can choose 1. Create a 4/4. 4/4 blue elemental creature token. Not just like a random little thing, but a freaking 4/4. And then next turn you can, because there's gonna be, you know, stun counters and like, oh man, I cannot wait to see what this blue-white deck is, because it's, you know, I can see there's creatures for it. So it's not gonna be the typical, like I said, it's not blue-white control. You're not just filling your deck with wrath effects, sweepers. You put creatures. So then it's more tempo, and blue-white tempo I like. Blue-white control, not my favorite thing, although I've been playing a lot of it this season, because it's the only way I've been getting decent wins in Mythic. But like, generally speaking, I'm not a big control mage, so if we get to play blue-white as a tempo deck, super stoked. And you know, this thing where we're going to be tapping down the opponent's things, and then we still get to swing in for stuff. Having a 4/4 that then maybe the next turn you put the +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, so you start growing your creatures. And then scry 2, draw a card. Like, this is a lot of really, like, good versatile options to choose from. And I think, you know, paying 1 for it is fair, because you're going to have to, like, find a way to tap an untapped creature an opponent controls, first of all. And then you'll still need to have mana left open to pay the 1. So if it was any more than that, it would start to be very difficult to do this. But with the 1 mana, plus you'll have a little 2 mana spell somewhere in this instant speed, somewhere in the set, I guarantee it, that'll say, like, tap target creature and opponent controls, put a stun counter on it, or something like that. And we've already got cards that do that right now in standard. There's one that puts stun counters with Kicker from a few sets back. The cogs are turning, everybody. All right, we've reached the final stretch. Next up, we've got Agatha of the Vile Cauldron. So this is the signpost rare for this story. I guess this is the lady in the cottage of Hansel and Gretel. Anyway, it's a 1/1 for 2. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost X less to activate, where X is Agatha of the Vile Cauldron's power. This effect can't reduce the mana of that cost to less than 1 mana. And then, of course, she has an activated ability. So it would usually cost you 6, and it gives other creatures you control +1/+1 and gain trample and haste until end of turn. You can imagine a situation where, like, the whole point of this card, and then they wouldn't have made it mythic and printed it in the first place, if you couldn't eventually make it so that you just ignore the 4 here and you're only paying a Gruul, a red and a green, and because it's not a tap thing, you can do it over and over and over again. So you rampity, and then at some point you just go and just give everyone +1/+1/+1/+1, trample, haste, boom, go. I like that kind of stuff. So definitely cannot wait to jam with Agatha here. She is a little bit squishy, but so obviously that's the problem that you need to try and solve, because this cost gets reduced based on how big, you know, how much her power is. So we're gonna have to find ways to give her more power so that this goes down. You see where we're going here. I like it. I like the design. I can't wait to find out what it is that we're gonna be able to use to give us some little buffage, you know, with all the modified stuff going on and whatnot. This is going to be fantastic. Okay, Ariette of the Charmed Apple. Each creature that's enchanted by an aura you control can't attack, or you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of auras you control. Oh, this is looking like a sweet little archetype. I don't know if any of you have noticed, like, some of the support for this going down along through the cards today, but we're going to be putting a lot of these rolls on different things, and then I don't know, like some sort of, like, maybe Esper, maybe is just Orzhov, like enchantments, auras, stuff matters. Oh my goodness. And then the fact that, like, you know, The wider you go with these auras, the more the opponent, at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses X life. This is also great in Commander when they say each opponent. That's, they're pandering to that crowd as well, but nice little card. And the 4 toughness, a little bit tougher to remove. It's a 3-drop, so we get it down nice and early. You can block against the aggro, and then we start to ping, 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 and you gaining. It's drain and gain. I love that kind of stuff. So, cannot wait to play with Ariette. Oh, and we've done it. We've arrived at the final card of the night. Realm Scorcher Hellkite. Just in the nick of time for my meeting. This one also I have had a look at on Twitter, on X. So I know what this one does. So it's a 4/6 with flying and haste for 4, 5, 6 mana. Which, yes, is a lot, but we've got ways to reduce that in standard right now. And we saw that, it's not even in here. It'll be anyway. I'm going to continue to do spoilers, so stay tuned. But we saw it when I was tabbing through the debut video, and there was that 2-color adventure and creature combo. That was a dragon that makes a treasure whenever it attacks. So I can imagine, like, on 3. So you played in a Rakdos deck with the Miglos is his name, I think. There's the guy that reduces the casting cost of your dragons by 2. And that you play him on 3, then you go and play the other guy on 4, and then that means you can attack, make a treasure, and then you play this guy on 5. Have I done my math properly? Is it on 5? Regardless, if you can just get this down like a turn early, and because you've made the treasure with the previous dragon, or some other way of doing so, which is many ways, and it doesn't even have to be a treasure, that can be any artifact, enchantment, or token you control, then it enters the battlefield. If it was bargain, add 4 mana of any color, of any combination. So this just becomes this crazy fireball. Because it's got haste, it's anyway great. Just get in for haste, and 6 toughness. But because when you bargain it, you get this 4 mana of any combination of colors, then you can straight away dump that mana into its activated ability. And you can do this as many times as you want because it's not a tap thing, and you can do it at instant speed. Realm Scorcher Hellkite deals 1 damage to any target. So you just go, opponent taps out, you just slam this guy for bargain, swing in for 6, and then just go 7, 8, 9. You can straight away go 2 times with the 4 mana that you've added. So that becomes 4, 5, 6 damage. 6 damage off the top for 6 mana is sick. I like this type of stuff. So I really cannot wait to jam with this dragon. And that is going to be it for tonight's episode of Spoiler Talk. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, kindly consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and of course, I much appreciate your comments down below. What is your favorite card from tonight? What is exciting you the most? What do you want to brew around? Let's keep this conversation going. I'm going to be doing spoiler talk throughout spoiler season, and it's nice to be back in front of the camera. I will be seeing you guys all tomorrow in Spoiler Talk episode 2 for Wilds of Eldraine. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab signing out. Peace, y'all.